So ready, baby. Folks. All right, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. As always, I'm Eli. This is Alex, and we're excited for today. This is going to be a good stream. I'm already ready for this. I don't know about you, man, but we're just going to talk about all things Pokemon prices because, oh my goodness gracious. We haven't, first and foremost, Happy New Year to everyone. We haven't obviously streamed since before Christmas, so it'll be nice to have a live stream having been gone for so long, and so many things have happened, it feels like, since we were gone. But before, of course, we jump into it, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe. Check out Alex's channel, links down in the description below for that. And then, of course, make sure to check on if we ever have any more availability for the wholesale program, links down in the description below for that, or if you have any sort of questions on how to stay up to date if a spot opens. Yeah, if a spot opens up, because it is all completely sold out. But I mean, Alex, where do you want to start, man?
Man, I just had Rob RNG Games on the channel yesterday, and
like you had him on the stream or like in the chat?
Live stream. He came on the live stream.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, he's sold out too. Everyone's distro programs are sold out.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, here's the thing, and this is kind of something that I wanted to. It's funny. I think this is a good place for me to kind of talk about this. When it comes to at least our wholesale program, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because, and this is kind of why I tell people the wholesale program is a long-term program, because prices on things are going up, and obviously allocations are like, you're making so much money if you just got ordered a case of Prismatic. If you got literally one case of Prismatic, I think I've run the numbers now. It pays for a year of the membership. Like, it's absolutely insane how much money you're making off of it. So, and with that being said, though, you obviously have to had either done a certain amount of spend in the program or had been in the program for a certain period of time. And as it becomes progressively harder to buy product, then obviously getting those spend thresholds, unless you've been in the program for that period of time, becomes a lot less achievable, because product is starting to thin out at distribution pages. Like, we're all sold out of ETBs. We're all sold out of booster boxes. We're on limitation on sleeve products, and we're probably going to run out of that completely here soon. So building spend is difficult, but this is where it's like the cycle is very clear in my mind, right? How it starts is you have available product. Product is available. It's thin margins. You buy the product, you sell it, you make thin margins, but you build allocations. Then you take those allocations, you build more spend with that. And then eventually the product runs out, margins start to get better, and then you start to make more money, and then product starts to run out, and then you just rely solely on product that is being allocated to you. And then you wait for a reprint, and then the cycle repeats. That's literally how the history of Pokemon has been since I've been in the hobby. Like, that is not, you can sit here and talk to me about how you want to predict when it happens or how it happens, but it's always happened. And so I always kind of let people know, like, hey, man, the reason why the program is such a long-term vision is because you can join at any point within the cycle, but you're always going to get the most value if you're there for the entire cycle, because you're building up allocations, you're getting advantage of these high margin products, and you're making sure that you're sticking around so that when it does come time that we do get a big reprint, you're not going to miss out for that. And then, of course, when the product eventually does go out of stock again, you built up your allocations through the spend when that product became available, so you can make these huge moves with these high demand sets.
Yeah, a good way of thinking about it's like, if you think about like streaming services, right? Like, say you're subscribed to Netflix or something. It's like, I don't even know why I'm subscribed to this. I only watch like, 3 movies a month on that. I only watch like this. It's like, okay, well, if you go to Amazon or somewhere to rent movies, it costs like $4 per movie. If you watch 3 of those, that's $12. That's your Netflix membership, right? And so it's like with your program, it's like, yeah, it's not as lucrative as it was because a lot of people want the same stuff right now. However, like you just said, one set paid for the entire year. One more good play, one more reprint, one restock, however much you can get, you're making money. It's like, so it still makes sense. It's just not like, this free gravy train to the moon. And I think that's what people like need to get out of that mindset. It's not in your program, it's the hobby in general. It's just like everyone's so unhappy because they're not getting as much from, their local store or be able to pre-order as much, or Safari Zone's higher. It's like, guys, it's not as good now because everyone's caught on, but there's still huge amounts of opportunity. It's just smaller margins, smaller amounts. And I just don't think it's that big of a deal. You know, like speaking of Rob, dude, so his spend, he said, is split between everything, Pokemon, Magic, whatever. He said he spent like 1.7 million with Southern Hobby. Okay. Mm-hmm. And got 10 ETB cases.
It's because he probably does predominantly Pokemon or Magic.
But dude, 10.
Yeah.
How much do you have to spend to get treated well?
Well, it's hard because so one of our distros, we have one distro that does it where all your spend counts towards everything. Other than that, all other distros, it's split between what you're doing. So Magic spend counts for Magic spend, Pokemon spend counts for Pokemon spend. Because if you look at what we did with Soho,
so most of yours is Pokemon?
Huh?
Yours is Pokemon, you're saying?
Oh, yeah, predominantly Pokemon. Like, if you look at Innistrad collectors, I guarantee you he got way more than we did. So, because Pokemon, we got, I mean, compared to everyone else,
I get nothing. I get like nothing. I got like 3 ETBs, but that's fair, right? Like, you know, like it's fair because I'm brand new. But man, if I was running a store and had a brick and mortar and I was spending $1 million plus with a distributor, I'd be pissed.
I honestly though, like, here's the thing with our program, and we talked about this a little bit before stream. This is something that we're actually going to transition to doing more what Soho does. And I think it's good because you have a lot of people that I remember a good example of this, Lord of the Rings. I knew nothing about Magic at the time, but I knew Lord of the Rings because it's Lord of the Rings. I'm a huge fan. And so for me, I had done only Pokemon at the time, wasn't into Magic whatsoever. And then when I heard the Lord of the Rings set came out, I wanted to go put a ton of money into Magic because I wanted Lord of the Rings. Right. And you have all this influx of demand come in. And so if you went off of just overall spend and not spend within the category, then you would have had a bunch of Pokemon plebs come in and just steal from the Magic people. And so that's kind of where I feel like it's good to subdivide that, because then it could potentially harm those who are actually true fans of that specific TCG. And so that's something we're looking into transitioning to doing in the program once we either get our next most massive reprint or once we get a new generation, because usually product is much more prevalently available during then. Obviously, there's not enough product at the moment for us to make that transition now, but it's something that's going to come in the future because I want to make sure that, you know, people that are into Bandai, you know, got to spend Bandai. People into Pokemon, spend Pokemon, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and my update on my distro journey, it is non-existent. I've given up right now. Like there's just no way. There's no way to win because there's like the short list of what's actually still at distribution, and the little bit that is still there. There's a limit on everything. I was emailing my distro earlier this week. And I'm like, okay, well, how many can I get of this? What about this? And I was like saying things like building battles, collection boxes, stacking tins, whatever stupid product there was, everything's got a limit. And I'm like, even if I bought it, my entire, the max amount of every stupid product they have there, all the crap product nobody wants, it would still equal out to a few $1,000s. I'm just like, okay, I'm not even going to worry about it right now. Once Pokemon slows down and nobody wants this stuff again, that's when I'll go to work and build my allocations. But right now, I'm just sitting back and taking what I get and not worrying about it.
Well, and that's kind of why in our program, we made the 6-month rule, which is, hey, if you've been in the program for at least 6 months, then you'll be able to get a guaranteed case of Prismatic. And if you haven't, then you had to have at least spent $5,000 in the program. We made that threshold because during the time, 5,000 was very achievable. And then hoping rolling into the next set release, if hypothetically what's happened, which is product starts to thin out even worse, where 5,000 no longer seems achievable because of how little product there is per person, well, at least you'll have been in the program by that time in at least 6 months. So you won't have to stress out about that. Because for me, I see this product scarcity as being temporary. I can't say when the next product, you know, availability is going to come on the market in the next month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever. And we'll get into that later. But at least in my mind, it sets people up for the ability to spend for the first set of Prismatic, and then going into the next set that's going to come out in March, majority of people that either could or couldn't clear that 5K bar, as long as they were in the program, they won't have to stress out about it now because they'll have more than likely been in for at least 6 months. So trying to at least help people out as we continuously move forward trying to get as much product as we can for people while we're waiting for that next reprint to come. Because when that reprint inevitably does come, then obviously it'll be a much easier thing for people to build spend through that. But in the meantime, if you can obviously buy a product that's able to give you enough margin to cover the program for 6 months to a year, then that's obviously going to help tide you over when it's basically paying for itself.
Hey, share the screen. Here's something to talk about.
Oh man.
Did you see this?
I'm going to try my best not to, oh God.
Glory of Team Rocket is in fact going to be a booster box and is being pre-sold by Forge and Fire.
How do we know this though?
For full MSRP. Dude, they must have some kind of contact higher up. I don't know how it is, but they have it up as a booster box pre-order.
That's concerning. That's concerning. I don't know. I mean, do we have confirmation? I mean, yeah, I don't know, man.
It's up.
Yeah, I'll have to do a little bit more research on my end for that. I don't know if anyone in the chat has some more pertinent information.
I mean, Forge and Fire's been around a long time, and they've never really. I mean, they're known as being an upright, like a shop that doesn't scam or screw people over. So I mean, I would bet it's real.
But who's the shop though that preemptively put up pre-orders claiming that it was the Gloria Team Rocket set, then had to take it down after and then change it to say SV9? Wasn't that Forge and Fire, or was that a different shop?
Well, I know Safari Zone was the first. Safari Zone, I believe, was the first one with pre-orders, and they sold it as SV9.
Right, but that's not what I'm saying. There was another shop, I can't remember what the shop was, but there was a shop that specifically said the Gloria Team Rocket pre-orders for that, and then they took it down and renamed it SV9 because they didn't want to get in trouble for accidentally
And it was like a large shop?
Yes, it was one of the more prevalent shops. I know a lot of people were talking about it.
Maybe someone will chat will know. I don't know.
Yeah, it was like a small little scandal going on about it, but anyway, yeah, no, I don't know, man, until I get confirmation. I mean, here's the thing. Prismatic comes out in about a little over a week now. So we'll know at least what the upcoming set is going to be pre-order wise. I mean, well, we already know what it is. It's the Journey Together, but we'll at least start placing orders with that. So you assume we should hear news sometime shortly after that, what Gloria Team Rocket is going to look like, or at least that's what I'm going to believe. Someone asked me the question, or someone asked the question, did Eli sell his LO? So, okay, it's funny that you asked that question because I've talked about this a little bit on stream, but I've been in the journey of looking for a home with my wife. And one of the things that we were looking at doing was putting 20% down. And so with that, we were like, all right, how are we going to go through the process of getting enough money, especially as a business, we're constantly reinvesting. And I was like, well, I'll have to liquidate some of my inventory. And I sat down with my wife and I was like, okay, I refuse to liquidate my LO inventory because I am so nervous that the box is going to hit 300 by end of year or at latest March. And I don't want to miss that boat. So unless we get money specifically from like other product or generated revenue, I'm going to refuse to sell my LO. And I was like, maybe I'll sell off a little bit of it, but it's not going to happen. And
I remember when LO was 300.
Yeah, right. We literally were like going through the process of looking at homes, and we've already seen most of the homes on the market right now. It's pretty dry. And so we were like, well, I guess we'll just have to wait until we find that dream home. In the meantime, haven't moved on my position. So I'm not even kidding you. I was just sitting there looking at it go up over the week. I was like, Alex, it's at 400 a box right now.
Dude, last sale was $419.97. $419.97 today. Then there is one listed lower now at $415.
Oh my gosh, dude. Okay. I told Alex this already, but my inventory. So you have to understand this, right? My inventory is in the POS for the shop. We haven't bought in product for the shop in over a month because we've just been sitting on our inventory. The sales volume in the shop has not only gone up, but also the product availability has gone down, but our inventory value has gone up. Our inventory value about 2 weeks ago was $250,000. It's now at 325,000 in 2 weeks because of how much of the Pokemon prices and Magic prices and whatever product we have has gone up. Like, it's actually insane to witness how, and we're selling our product. Like, it isn't one of these things where it's like we're buying more inventory. Don't get me wrong. Like, we bought some Commander decks of Ixalan. I'm not including that in the inventory evaluation. So it's insane to witness where it's one of these situations where, like, yeah, it sucks. Like, you can't get access to product right now, but this is where kind of what Alex and I talk about all the time on stream, which is we buy the product and we just sit on it. And then eventually at some point it sells. And so for me, we've got LO, we've got Silver Tempest, we've got Brilliant Stars, we've got all the booster boxes of Scarlet Violet, except for Paradox. That's the only one we're sold out of. So it's like, we're sitting on a ton of product that I'm not even kidding you. I just bought it and was like, I'm just going to put it in the back stock room. If it sells in the shop, it sells. And if it doesn't, well, we'll just sit on it. And now all of a sudden, that product that wasn't selling back when it was $100, $110 because no one wanted it in shop is now selling in shop like $150 plus to $200 a box because people are watching the price and they're FOMOing into purchasing it because they're afraid it's going to keep going up. And as crazy as it sounds, I don't blame them because we've had people come in and be like, yo, I bought like a booster box from you last week at 150 and now it's already at $200. Like, literally insane to watch.
Just creating Pokemon investors out of them.
I no, we've actually created a good amount of people in the shop that are now starting to like watch my content or like invest in Pokemon.
What content?
Hey, hater. Every Tuesday, I'm still live. I'm still here.
I'm sure they would watch your content when you put it out, you know?
Hey, man. They watch the Tuesday live.
Dude, when are you coming back, by the way? It's 2025. Like,
when am I coming back?
What are we doing here?
I've told you.
Hey, literally, dude. Here, just go get a GoPro and just throw it on you while you're at the shop, and just throw up unedited footage at the shop. Just like show people your day to day.
I thought about making an inappropriate joke. What was I gonna say? No, as far as it goes, for us right now, we're looking at hiring on at least 1 to 2 employees. Once that happens, then we can talk about posting content. But for now, we're very understaffed. So, which is annoying.
Do you remember how we met?
Was it Tinder or Grindr? I can't remember. Yeah, I remember how we met. Yes, I do remember.
It was on Pokenomics live stream.
It was on Pokenomics stream. It was me, you, Northwoods, and I think someone else. I can't remember.
No, but I mean, back then, right, in that time period, do you remember how like hard people like us got bashed for investing in Sword and Shield product?
Oh, dude, it was crazy. Dude,
it is so hard to like explain to people who weren't there back then. And it's so hard not to like, you know, the keep back the I told you so's and all that. Dude, people got back then got trashed for putting money into Modern after 2021, 2022. Like, you were investing in Sword and Shield, the most heavily printed era. Everyone's doing this. Everyone's got mountains of it in their basements and storage units. None of this stuff will ever be worth anything. And it's just funny how all those voices all faded away, you know, left the hobby, no longer say anything. And, you know, as much as everyone wants to call it whatever they want to, manipulate it, all this, dude, none of these prices are ever going back anywhere near where they were in 2022 or 2023. And it just goes to show, no matter how many people are negative about something, sealed product still prevails.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's something that always made sense to me because unlike vintage, you could predict what the floor was because you were like, hey, 86 a box at the time for Sword and Shield. Odds are it's probably going to go to maybe in the low, like, you know, 70s at worst. But like for the most part, it was mid 70s is where you saw it. And I at least feel confident knowing that if the price went down to that, it was something that wasn't going to potentially crash farther. But with vintage, that wasn't the case because you've seen 50% retracements on certain, you know, singles. And obviously some of it's held up, some of it's gone down. Like there is a level of diversification that would be required to not have hurt yourself if you invested in certain ones versus others. But at least with modern, you didn't really have to do that, because looking at it, the literal lowest price you saw in boxes were roughly into the 70s, and that was for Battle Styles Chilling Fusion.
And anyone who's like still a critic, they'll try the best they can to try to like, throw stones, and they're just like, well, look at Vivid Voltage at its high, it was like 200, or Battle Styles at its high, those still haven't reached their all-time highs. And you're just like, okay, well, what if you were buying, again, diversifying in every box? Every other box is at its all-time high ever. So if you, again, diversify it out, you do a dollar cost average out of everything you bought, you are still massively up, hundreds of percent gains. Guess what? You can't go through a single mutual fund or index fund and find every single stock in that entire portfolio up. It doesn't happen, but yet they all still rise at an average of 10% plus a year. And it's just like that with Pokemon. Look, you're not always going to catch the best price or all the best sets, but as long as you stay the course, you're staying this for the long term, you're buying every set, you are going to continue to do very well in this hobby. Hey, you're silent, dude. You're good. Eli's having some technical difficulties, folks. He'll be back with us shortly. Click it out. There you go. Wait. No.
Hold on.
Wait, I hear you again.
You can hear me?
You're back.
Sorry, I accidentally unplugged my mic. What was I saying? Yeah, and it's crazy looking at like my inventory value as well. Like the number I gave you is not indicative of like our entry point. Like our entry point in total, I think, is like around $75,000-$80,000, roughly speaking. So for me to have something go from 75-80 grand to like over 300 grand in the span of, I think, 2 years now is where we are. I mean, it's crazy. It's literally insane to see. I mean, what is that? A 4x in 2-3 years?
Yeah. What's funny is another thing we heard about, not to like keep harping on the past, but like people need to know this that weren't there. Because guys, the things that people are saying now are going to say in Scarlet Violet, they're going to say the same stuff. So you need to understand that like this has all happened before. It's all been done before. Back in Sword and Shield, at the beginning of it, people were all saying, oh, this isn't going to be like Sun and Moon and XY. You're not going to see these kind of massive price rises. There's too much of it. There's too many people that know about it. The secret's out. And it's like Sword and Shield era, these boxes are hitting higher price points faster than even Sun and Moon did. So it's like the timelines are actually being sped up where most people thought they were all going to slow down. You
know what's the craziest thing to think about? How much longer do you think it's going to be till Evolving passes Team Up?
It's going to happen.
It probably will. I mean, it's going to be literally more expensive.
Team Up past Flashfire.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, it's just a matter of time.
Seeing Paldea evolve about to cross $200 a box is amazing.
Flashfire is now more expensive than Team Up, though. It relapsed it, right?
It retook it.
Yeah, it retook it. But it happened. It's going to happen with Evolving. It's just a matter of time. I mean, Evolving is insane. Evolving is, and don't get me wrong, like I still want to put an emphasis because I do think pop reports are an important thing to consider. But also the number one thing to consider is always going to be demand. Like you look at the single prices on these cards, and yeah, population will always play an effect, especially when reprints happen. Prices on singles are going to be the first to take a hit, but ultimately the demand is going to, over the long term, it's going to outpace it if it's there, and it's going to cause prices to go up. Like you've got Blooming Waters coming in, and I'm not looking at Blooming Waters and thinking to myself, oh, 151 singles, like they're never going to rebound. It's like, no, I'm looking at it as they're probably going to take a hit, and then you're going to want to get in because it's going to eventually go back up to what it's at currently and probably higher.
Yeah, I mean, I just think there's more money out there than people want to like believe. I think there's more people that are successful enough to be able to afford this stuff and continue to collect it. And the older they get, the more successful they get, the wealthier they get, the more they're going to want to collect the things that they enjoy. And I understand, like, if you're not in a great position, or maybe you're just starting out in life, or whatever's going on in your own life, it's hard not to project that on to like the overall market and kind of fall into that thing where you get on TikTok and you see negative stuff, and then it just keeps giving you negative posts in your algorithm, and you think everybody's life is terrible and everything sucks. I think people fall into that a little too much. Whereas, like, once you get out of that little like negative bubble, you'll realize there's a lot of people making a whole lot of freaking money, and it's like they're able to just keep throwing it at this hobby, and it's not affecting their life one bit, and it's not going to slow down.
Yeah. I yeah, I try not to. I mean, I'm not on social media a ton as it is. I try and stay away from it because of the negativity. I mean, obviously we have our Twitter and Instagram I'm not really active on ever, but for me, it's just not really worth trying to give light to people's emotions, because you're always going to experience that regardless. Like, things could be going terrible in Pokemon and people are gonna, be negative. Things are going great in Pokemon, people are being negative, right? There's always going to be someone complaining, and so all you're doing is you're feeding into the worst of people being around that, and that's not something that I am going to waste my time with. Because right now, sure, it would be fantastic to have more product available on the market, but also at the exact same time, I'm enjoying what's happening right now because I'm obviously making a ton of money. And guess what? When product comes into the market and certain items correct or whatever ends up happening, I'm just going to enjoy it because I'm going to double into my positions. And then from there, just dollar cost average into an even bigger position that will then go back up again over. Like, this isn't one of these things where I'm looking at this one way and I'm only wanting it to be this. Like, I only want it to be product scarcity, or I only want it to be always product available. It's like, I'm going to look at both and look at both as an opportunity. It's the same thing Warren Buffett always says about being fearful when others are greedy and vice versa. So
all I know, man, is kind of like your average player said with Abraham, there are so many more out there when he's talking about whales. Dude, here's the thing. You guys, I'm not going to say exactly how much I have in Pokemon, but you guys have seen my videos. I've done videos where I store all my stuff. Like, I've got multiple six figures in Pokemon, right? I do consultations. I offer consultation calls. And, when things were normal, I was normally doing maybe 2 or 3 a month. Right now, I'm doing like 8 to 10 of these freaking calls a month with people. Okay. And I would say, if I had to like break it down, there's probably like 20% of the people I talk to that have less than I do. Almost everyone I talk to has more invested in this hobby than I do. And guess what? I am a 20-something thousand subscriber YouTube channel. You can only imagine the people that like would reach out to someone like, Rudy or some of these like higher. It's like, it is amazing when you see the massive amount of cash that people have, not only in this hobby, but to spend in this hobby. And so that is why I remain so bullish, is because I know the bankrolls that are ready to throw their money at anything and everything when it's available. And they have long-term mindsets. They're well capitalized. They're not worried about the whims of the market, whatever news cycle it's in. And they truly believe in the long-term future of this hobby. So that's what keeps me so bullish. If you guys are wondering why I'm always optimistic, that's why. I'm not worried about what the social media crowd is saying, all their stupid reprints or rumors or this and that. It's meaningless, because guess what? The big money knows exactly what they're doing. They're not worried about those things. And that's what's going to drive the market forward.
Well, and obviously I already disclosed how much our store inventory has gone up in value. And a big portion of that is obviously LO. And a lot of people have to also realize, like, that might seem like a crazy amount to a lot of people, but my original LO investment was around 10 grand. I know that might seem like a lot, but it's not a lot considering how much it's worth now. So you've got people that are like smaller than me or around my same size that are like progressively investing around 10 to 20 grand a year in Pokemon, and all of a sudden are now sitting on multi 6-figure positions.
Yeah.
In the span of 3 years, right?
Yep.
Like, you do the math. I'm a business. I've been a business since 2021, and the wholesale program has been around since 2023. And within that time frame, I was able to progressively put in about $15,000 to $20,000 a year into our inventory. And from that, it's now exploded. So it's not one of these things where it's like, oh my God, I'm making, such an insane amount of money that I'm able to dump 20, 30, 40 grand a month into things. It's like, no, man, I'm putting like 15 to 20 grand a year into this, and it's able to get me so much money. So it doesn't, you don't have to be a whale in order to do this. You can do this at a much smaller scale and then eventually snowball it over time, because that's ultimately how this thing is compounded.
And I love it. I love talking to the whales because it's humbling. It puts you, it really shows you like, one, where you actually stand, which, I mean, people look at me and you and be like, oh my gosh, they have so much money in Pokemon. And it's just like, we're like the tip of the iceberg. And two, it shows you that like, wow, these people are willing to put this much wealth into Pokemon. So they believe it in that much. Maybe I should start believing it a little more too. And I feel like we're ultra bullish. And there's people out there that are more bullish than we are.
Oh yeah. There's one of the people in the program who's been around. People that are in the program know who he is. He's only been in the program for 2 or 3 months, and he's already spent like over 200 grand. And it's funny, I had a phone call with him and I talked to him, and he was telling me what he did for work, and is basically, dove into Pokemon recently with his kid, and is like saying how, oh, there's some money in this, and he's got a lot of money to throw around, and he sees it as a huge opportunity long-term from an investment perspective. And so he's going hard in the paint in Pokemon, and I can only imagine how he's feeling right now, because he made a purchase for Stellar Crown, like I want to say a month ago, where he bought at 95 a box, I think. He bought 120 cases. So just off of that one purchase, he's already up like 50% on his purchase in a month, which is like, oh my gosh, that's insane. Like, oh yeah, it's wild. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, you shouldn't expect 100% returns every week. Like, this is super hyper, like, this is insane. But when it happens quick. That's why we always talk
said that
about
people, people will do this thing where they'll take like a downtime in Pokemon and be like, your investments haven't even moved in a complete year. This whole thing's a scam. And then they'll go up like this one year and they'll be like, well, everything's just manipulated. No, this is how collectibles move. They don't move a linear 10% a year like the S&P index does. Even the S&P doesn't move perfectly linear, but it's not this nice steady growth. It's times of stagnation. It's times of pumps. Then it kind of like goes down and stagnates. Then it's another pump. Like, this is the collectibles market.
Well, that's why when people are always like, Eli, how long should I sit on my long-term investment for? Like, we use 3, 5, 10 years as like a time frame, because ultimately it's not like we have a crystal ball and we can say when the bull market is and when the stagnation is. It's going to happen at some time. And when it does happen, it happens pretty aggressively. But when you average it out over a period of 3, 5 years, then obviously it spreads out the total amount of growth on an average. But if you literally broke it into one specific time frame of when it occurred, it usually is a very short stint that happens super aggressively.
It's just crazy where we've got to. Like, man, when I got in the hobby, buying a case of booster boxes, that was crazy, right? You're gonna buy you're gonna buy $500-$600 worth of Pokemon, and you're just gonna like sit on it. Like, that was why. And now it's just like, as you kind of get deeper, I'm gonna buy a case of each set. Then when it goes up, I'll sell one, keep one. Then it's 5, then it's 10 cases, and it's just like, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and compounding. And now there's people buying 50 and 100 cases. Well, not as many now because nobody has that many, but there were. And it's just like, it's amazing to see like the ceilings. Like, there is no ceiling in this hobby. It's just as far as you want to take it.
Well, so here's and this is obviously on topic, but slightly off topic. Here's an interesting question to watch, right? So Battle Styles is currently sitting at 150 a booster box, right? It's obviously far and away the worst performing booster box of the Sword and Shield era.
Well, maybe Vivid Voltage.
What's Vivid at? Is it not above that?
Let's see.
I'll pull it Vivid.
I thought it is.
Yeah, what's Vivid at?
170.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'd be stunned if Vivid was.
But Vivid was 150 up until about like a month ago.
Well, yeah, but Battle Styles like 120 up
Okay.
until about a month ago. But where I was going with this was Scarlet and Violet base set is at 140. It is $10 away from passing Battle Styles.
Dude, everything's past it. Paradox, Temporal, Twilight.
Right, I get
Stellar.
that. But base set Scarlet and Violet. Do we have to look at base sets in a different lens now, or do we have to look at battle styles in a different lens? Or like, how are we looking at this? Because for me, when you typically think of base sets, there's always been a stigma around base sets as like, hey, they are the set that has a bunch of introduced competitive cards. Like there can be cool art designs, but most of the time base sets are kind of blah. So, but if you're talking Scarlet and Violet base set about to pass Battle Styles, which you can hate Battle Styles all you want, it's an alt art set. It's got alt arts in it, including the Tyranitar. Like, I don't know. How are you kind of taking that when looking at it?
I think it's a better set.
You think Scarlet and Violet bases?
Yeah, I think people are going after the better sets, and because it's more fun to open, it's actually being opened. Look, nobody's opening Sword and Shield base. No one's opening Sun and Moon base except this idiot. Guys, shout out for myself. Tonight on the channel. Crimson Invasion and Sun and Moon base, baby. But other than idiots like me, no one's opening those sets. People actually want to open Scarlet Violet base. Like it has chase cards. It's a deep set. It has grading plays and the illustrations. Like I think Scarlet Violet, what it has that other eras don't have is it's actually fun to open every single set. Whereas, you know, with Battle Styles, it's all or nothing. It's spinning the roulette ball and picking one number. And I don't think people really like to do that. They want to have like 10 things in the set they want to chase after, not just one card.
It's hard for me to say that though, because Vivid and Darkness and Obsidian are the same, but yet they're still doing so much better.
Well,
so
yeah. Wait, what were the three again?
Vivid, Darkness, Obsidian.
I mean, Darkness is doing okay. It's 4 years old and only $200. Where Paldea Evolve's already $200 in like a year. So
yeah, but Battle Styles is a year younger
True.
than Darkness, so it's not like it's much younger.
I mean, we've learned already. Age is going to raise everything. It raised Crimson Invasion, Steam Siege, but like, yeah, I mean,
I guess I'm just confused because, like, for me with Battle Styles, and before we continue this, I want to say, guys, make sure, because we're going to start going into the Q&A section, in bold, say question and then what your question is if you have any for us, because we're going to start going through that here in a second. And then make sure to leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. I look at Battle Styles and I say, yeah, there's an argument to be made that like it's definitely the worst performing by far the worst set by far of all the alt art sets. But for it to still perform worse than Darkness in Vivid, it blows my mind, honestly. Like it blows. I remember we had a video discussion or a live stream like a month or two. You remember this live stream?
Yep.
Where I was sitting and I was talking to Alex and I was saying like, oh yeah, Vivid, bro. I think Vivid is undervalued. I think Darkness is undervalued. I think they're going to hit like 250 in the next 3 years. Right. And we had a conversation about that. And some people were calling me crazy. And although it looks like it's going to easily surpass that time frame, because I think we had that stream like 3 months ago, it's still something that in my mind, obviously that was the topic of conversation, but in my mind, I didn't envision Battle Styles being surpassed during this process. And so that's what's kind of like throwing me off the most, is why Battle Styles is not performing. Because ultimately, like, I think Battle Styles is a better set than Darkness Ablaze. I'm not saying that like it's a fantastic set, and I understand like Charizard is still king, but it still blows my mind, I guess.
I guess one thing I can think, so all the sets did get reprints, but nothing got reprinted as hard as Battle Styles.
That is like, true. That's a good
Darkness
point.
and Vivid, they never fell to the 80s, right? They got reprinted back in the 90s, 100s. Whereas Battle Styles went to 70, 79, 75, $80 and sat there. And when Vivid and Darkness got their reprints, they were ETBs on that last wave. And so I think the supply is probably just hurting it.
Honestly, it's a great point. I didn't think about that. Battle Styles, for those people that don't know, it's the most printed set in Sword and Shield by bar none. It got printed so heavy. And a big portion of that was because it was such a prevalently um competitive set for the TCG. And so there was a huge reintroduction to level balls, I think is what it was. I can't remember which one it was, but there was a bunch of competitive cards. And with Rapid Strike and Single Strike, that also changed the format quite a bit. So that makes sense, especially because LO and Darkness, they at one point, like not LO, sorry, Vivid Voltage and Darkness, they at one point were like, I mean, Vivid went to 240 before it finally got some supply at the end of 2021. And from there, it crashed all the way down to 110, 120. But that was it. That was all it got, was that one supply. And then it finally struggled and is now moving. So yeah, Battle Styles, you got to assume then, if that's the logic though, that when it does start to really dwindle in supply, it's got to be some form of an acceleration. Because if the supply is the reason why it's still being suppressed as much as it is, you have to assume once that supply starts to dwindle at an aggressive rate, then it will aggressively shoot up. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just being speculative with the assumption that there is so much being played into the factoring of the supply.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other scary part is that may be a good reason to buy Battle Styles is once that supply does run out, we've seen what happens. It goes parabolic. Like Battle Styles could be one of those sets where it literally does jump from like 150 to 250 like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's something worth considering. Because right now, like, don't get me wrong, everything is going up insane right now, and Scarlet and Violet base looks like it's going to surpass Battle Styles. But I don't know. I think Battle Styles is gonna have to make a move here soon. It's too far behind everything else. But yeah, I mean, is there anything? I mean, we'll probably get a ton of questions about this, but is there anything in specific that you're looking at right now that you're like, man, this item is undervalued? Like anything?
The only thing I would say is like some of these packs versus sealed prices are getting very far out of whack. And we know what happens when that usually goes down is the seal or the singles usually start to catch up at some rate. So let's just say like here, perfect example. Lost Origin booster boxes are 420. So if we do 420 divided by 36, that's 1166 a pack. If the loose packs are still like $6-7, I would expect those to be worth at least $850, right? And so like I think my biggest play is not boxes right now. If anyone's looking for products, go after any product like collection boxes, tins, sleeve blisters, check lanes, 3-packs, anything that you can find a lower price per pack down in those lower ranges. Because I do think first of all, guys, single packs will never catch up to booster boxes. Anytime they get close, people will just go back to boosters and booster boxes will run again. And so they're never going to be, dollar for dollar, but they're normally not going to be this far off. Like they're only usually a couple bucks off. So I would expect the single packs to rise a lot more going forward. That would be my plays. Any set, any Sword and Shield era set, look for products with loose packs that are lower dollar cost.
I think honestly, you bring up a really good point because I was updating the shop inventory 2 days ago, and I was looking at Lost Origin, and I was like, what are the prices for some Lost Origin singles? Because we have some stadiums that we're going to break down and we're going to sell off the packs. And like 2 days ago, it was valued at like $550 a pack, and I was like, $550 a pack seems so cheap considering the booster boxes are over 400 right now. And understandably, like, yeah, there's always going to be a disparity because the premium is high, or for booster boxes, but $550 comes out to $198 for a pack lot. And so for me, I was like, there's no way that you don't see an aggressive adjustment here. And funny enough, I just checked the prices again. It's now up to $8 a pack since I last looked. So it looks like you're starting to see that finally take place with some of these booster boxes that are going up. So if I were you guys, I would look at the disparity between some of these Sword and Shield packs, because Silver Tempest for the longest time was like ridiculously undervalued. And it's like you're looking at the booster box prices for it. I think it's at $240 right now. If you're seeing like those packs sell for sub $4, like, or $4, I don't know what they are currently, but I can only imagine.
They're right around, they're just over 4 on the open market. I think some people on eBay are selling like $155, $160 36 pack lots.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing also, guys. I know I've seen in the comments, I'll address it. I'm not going to talk about it anymore because it's so stupid. All these CT scanning, now it's like metal detecting and all these ridiculous things. Everyone thinks it's like the end of the hobby, end of sealed packs. No, everything will be fine. If you're worried about it, just don't buy packs. But yeah, if you're worried about, loose packs, look, like I just said, all those other products, sleeve blisters, check lane blisters, 3-pack blisters, bundles, collection boxes, tins. You can get all that kind of stuff if you're worried about just straight loose packs. Because yeah, I mean, they are going to catch up.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time. All right, let's go start answering some questions. But before we do that, shout out to Don. Thank you so much for the $5, as always. Well, shout out to us, apparently.
Teflon Don.
Heck yeah, thank you, Don, so much, brother. I appreciate it, boss. Thank you for the $5. But yeah, let's get into the Q&A section of the stream. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. Really helps the channel.
Okay, I won't give one last shout out.
Yeah, do it.
Because it's become a meme in our Discord at this point. But
no.
Shout out to the hashtag I'm gonna wait crowd.
Oh God.
The I'm gonna wait crowd. Oh man, the last couple years, Alex, I'm not buying Scarlet and Violet. I'm gonna wait. I got years to buy that. I'm gonna wait. Well, looks like you waited too long. That's all I got to say about it.
Yikes.
Looks like you waited too long.
Yeah. Yikes. That's about all I can say.
I mean, here's the thing too, dude. They got to print more prismatic. This is going to get crazy if they don't. 151, they're trying to reprint. Surging Sparks is getting a reprint, here soon. Hopefully, Paladin Fates probably needs one because it's specially set. It's already really high. Like, guys, first of all, they can't reprint every set at this point. The ones they do reprint, are they going to be able to reprint enough of it? They're not even able to print enough on the original release of this stuff. Eventually, these sets are going to be 2 and 3 years old without getting one. This idea that everything is going to get these massive reprints and drop down to $100, people are dreaming. The I'm gonna wait crowd is going to be the biggest meme in this hobby in the next 2-3 years because they're going to miss out on Scarlet Violet era. And everyone who did buy at pre-release and at release, who said they were going to sit on dead money for years and years, they're going to have the last laugh.
I think at this point, it really is just going to come down to what gets printed and then how much of it gets printed. That's really what it's going to come down to. Because hypothetically speaking, let's say that there is a massive reprint that comes out, right? You see Twilight, Stellar, Surging all get dumped in price. But guess what doesn't get reprinted? Scarlet and Violet Base, Paldean Evolved, Paradox Rift, Obsidian. All of a sudden, sure, you could have waited, but also at the exact same time, you missed out on getting some of these other ones that didn't happen to get reprinted during this massive potential influx, and you could have made so much. So it's tough because you can sit here and play the waiting game, but ultimately we can't sit here with a crystal ball, say one, what reprints are coming, and when reprints are coming, and then 2, which ones are coming, because hypothetically speaking, Pokemon at any time can just say, yeah, we'll dump the market, but we're not going to dump the prices on these products. And then all of a sudden you have Paldea Evolved not get a reprint. It now shoots up to $300 a box because people are now getting antsy over the fact that this might be the best time for them to pick it up.
Another thing is people aren't going to want to hear this. This is going to be a hot take. But guys, everyone always wants to try to compare things apples to apples, and they're not. The reason they're not is the market cycles change. Everyone looks at Crown Zenith, right? And they say, Alex, Pokemon's going to do the same thing to 151. And it's like, first of all, Crown Zenith was released in a bear market, a straight bear market in 2022. It was getting reprints in flat market to slightly up market, right? It withstanded all the reprints, the Sea and Sky boxes, the booster bundles, everything that Pokemon could muster. It's still 70 in ETB. What the hell do you think 151 is going to do in a bull market where they cannot quench the demand? Guys, if this bull market runs through the end of 2025, 151 is going to be past 2 years old. It is going to get less and less likely they're going to be able to print enough to pour enough water on this to cool it off. There is a very real possibility you're never going to find cheap 151 packs. This whole Blooming Waters thing, Dude, we're already getting reports. There's not a lot of it. Stores are getting cut like massively. It's not going to add that many more packs to the market. It may drop a little bit, but it's going to get eaten up just as fast because people are desperate for packs, especially people like me that do rip and ships. I just think people are dreaming comparing reprints and price points in 2022 and 2023 of those products and trying to say it's going to be the same with this. This is not the same market.
151, let's just say hypothetically speaking, let's say they dump a ton of it on the market, and I'm saying past blooming. I think it's going to be a V-shaped recovery. I think it will be something where, yes, you could see potential like lower than anticipated prices, but it's not going to last long.
I think it's going to be a check mark recovery. Because a V shape would mean it would go down to the bottom and go back to its old high. It's gonna be like a check mark. It's gonna go down a little bit, and then it's gonna set new highs.
I mean, that's what we saw with evolving.
I'm coining that term, the check mark recovery.
That is what we saw with evolving. So it would not surprise me whatsoever. All right, let's start getting into questions. Where was it? You guys share your thoughts on potentially selling some of the new stuff. 151 PC ETBs at 300. SS booster boxes near 250. Thinking of SV stuff that has already taken off recently. Yeah, what are you want to take the lead on that?
Yeah, my like tried and true advice I'm gonna say every time. If you're worried about it, sell some, keep some. If you need the money for something else, sell some, keep some.
Yeah.
If some of your positions have gotten way out of whack and you're like like the majority of your net worth in Pokemon's all in one thing. This goes for any investments in my opinion, but not financial advice. Just what I do with my investments is like, if I get too heavy in one stock or one position in Pokemon, I'll sell some just to redistribute that money into other things. So I'm not so heavy in one thing. I like to diversify it out to stay safer. So like, yeah, if all of a sudden, let's say you bought the same amount of booster boxes in Sword and Shield. You have one case of everything. Now Evolving Skies, right, is, the majority of that net worth. If you want to sell some of that and diversify it out, if 151 is so high for you now, you want to sell some of those, diversify it out more, hold cash for some of these reprints that are coming. I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, I know it's like taboo in the investing space to talk about selling hold forever till you die. But yeah, I mean, anytime when something's went on a 200% run, I don't think it's ever a bad move to, ring the register a little bit.
Here is where my kind of long-term approach is going to be with Pokemon investing. And this is something that I've kind of started to realize as my portfolio continues to grow is, one, if there are certain items that are out of print, like technically LO is still in cycle, but in my mind, it's basically out of print at this point. At this point, I am tripling down on LO, bro. I am not going to sell LO because it's like, it's just not going to go down.
You say tripling down, you mean holding. You're not buying.
Oh, yeah, buddy. Like, you are not going to get me to sell LO. However, I can easily be persuaded to move some of my Scarlet and Violet position because obviously it is more vulnerable to potentially having a reprint. And now I am taking the approach Alex said, I'm keep some, sell some, because in my mind, I get nervous about reprints, but also at the exact same time, not too nervous because I know, one, it's going to rebound. And then two, there's potential that some of the items won't get reprinted. And I don't want to be caught with my pants down selling off with the potential of certain ones not getting reprinted. And then I liquidated that entire position. And so for me, I am more or less just selling some, keeping some of my own Scarlet and Violet. And then I'm redistributing that into other positions. And then progressively, as my inventory continues to grow, and more specifically, the value of my inventory continues to grow, I'm going to start to redistribute it into high dollar cost, high volatile items that are going to take up a lot less space. And sure, it might not yield me 100% rate of return within a year, like some of these other ones, but Evolving Skies, for example, it's been aggressive. It's performed extremely well. And for me, if I can say to myself, hey, sure, it might not yield the same rate of return compared to a new Scarlet and Violet box that comes out, but ultimately I am now starting to consider how much space I have available. I might liquidate some of my inventory to free up some space, put it into Evolving, knowing it's going to be a safe long-term play, and I can continuously build up that position while actually being able to have the space to do so. I mean, who knows? Maybe I become Rudy at some point. I have a warehouse and storage doesn't become an issue. But in the meantime, where storage is becoming a problem, looking at the dollar cost per square foot is something I'm now having to look into.
There is one hiccup in this whole scenario.
Oh boy.
And it's become increased. So this is something like I've always known about. Like for the last 3-4 years, I've always known about this, right? But it's become, and I've never really paid attention to it because it never really was a thing on the market. It's become more and more prevalent now, and it is becoming more mainstream in this belief, and people are paying up for it. And that is the fact of first print cases. I don't care if anyone believes in it. You can believe in it or not. It's a thing, and people are paying a premium for first print cases because they believe, which honestly, I'm kind of in the conspiracy camp too, that the hit rates are much better in first print products. I'm a rip and shipper. I open thousands of packs a night. I see it firsthand. I was opening the original print of Crown Zenith. I opened the reprint, very different. I opened the original print of 151, all the other stuff, way different. I've seen it, okay? And so people are, even put it this way, even if I knew for a fact, right, that Surging Sparks was going to get reprinted heavily and it was going to drop to 160 a box, I still may hold some of my cases just because if it's a true reprint and they're actual reprint cases, the first print may have enough of a premium to make it worth it to keep. So that's why I still say keep some, sell some, because keeping that first wave, that may prove out to be very lucrative in the future as more and more people hop on the first print bandwagon. Again, whether you agree with it or not, it will be a thing in the future.
I guess it's hard for me at this time because I don't think too much into that, because at least for my customer base, it's not something that's super prevalent. Obviously, you're a rip and ship streamer, and so anyway, you can get more hits for your customers, then that obviously makes sense.
Well, dude, just like, I mean, if you go look at some of these first print, like Evolving Skies cases, they're selling for much more than a regular Evolving Skies case.
Where, I guess? Is it like eBay?
eBay, private sales. Like, I know people that are willing to pay a good amount more.
Really? That is interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely something worth considering. I mean, how, I guess, is it the ones that basically say not for sale by this date?
The cases that say not for, resale until this date or whatever, the reprints will not say that.
Interesting.
Now the boxes, I know some people claim that like some sets, they can tell a difference in boxes based on the wrapping. I don't know if you can really tell a difference after it's out of the case though.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, that is interesting.
Again, I was never this guy. I never believed in it. I laughed it off. But I've seen it now. I've seen it actually becoming a thing and people willing to shell out the money for them. And so I'm becoming more of a believer. Like I'm not someone that would myself pay more money for one, but I'm definitely more inclined to hold on to first print cases now, because I think in the future there'll be more and more people that do buy in and they do keep paying more for it. So
I mean, all that really does though, it doesn't really change much of what I'm doing other than the fact that if a reprint does happen and eventually the prices do go up, then obviously I'd be more inclined to sit on one over the other, because it still goes back to, at least in my position, an issue of storage, right? Because I will need to clear up space. I mean, there were
for sure.
There were certain
guys, this isn't like a make and break thing. It's just if you got some first print cases and you don't need to sell, maybe hold on to them.
Yeah. I mean, there is a lot of collection boxes that we ended up breaking down because we were like, yo, the packs are worth just as much as the collection boxes. Let's just sell those and stop taking up all this space. It's crazy. Moving on. I mean, dude, like literally, okay, I actually want to say this real quick. I'm talking like Dragonite V and like V Hoopa boxes, which at the time were going for like $20 a box market, are now going for like $40-$50 because the packs inside are fusion, evolving. Like it's just the packs. The packs are what keep the value.
For sure, man. It's how it's always going to be too.
Yeah. But all right, moving on to the next question. And then one thing I hate to say, I'm probably going to actually have to wrap it up here in the next 10 minutes. I actually have a meeting after this.
What?
I know, bro.
Dude, we have like 100 questions. All right, rapid fire.
Yeah, we'll go rapid
long
fire
with the
here.
answers. We got to just answer.
Question: Battle styles, Vivid are evolving with better gains in 2025. Evolving. I think evolving. I think evolving.
Guys.
I think evolving. I know you try to get Lego distribution. Is there a way we can get Hot Wheel distribution? I don't know anything about Hot Wheel distribution. I did get Lego distribution. The margins were atrocious, which is why I haven't offered it yet, because it just doesn't make sense for the program. And as far as Hot Wheels, it's probably not something we'll look into, just because no one really brings that up. Been seeing more scammers trying to get rip and shippers. And then did you get your situation resolved?
No, I haven't got it resolved. I lost all the money. It's over. It was stolen credit cards. So no issue, no other issues since then. I stopped accepting credit cards. It's all through PayPal now. And so I haven't had any issues yet. Hopefully it stays that way.
We have to touch on this though before we continue the questions. Have you been seeing Rudy's made videos about it. People that I know of and my program have made people have messaged me about it. The refunds for Prismatic. Have you been hearing a lot of people talk about that? How storefronts are basically like just refunding people for product because the price is now at like $150 in ETB.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's brutal, man. It's so messed up. I mean, here's my thing. Like, first and foremost, at our card shop, we don't do pre-orders. I mean, we might offer it at some point, but I just don't want to have to deal with that. Because
I know Pokémon, you know, he said this publicly, so I'm not revealing anything, but he got caught with like, you know, over pre-selling his items. You know, that cut distro has to like go out to open market and like overpay for boxes just to fulfill his orders because he's trying to do right by his customers. He's going to lose thousands on it.
Right.
And he's done pre-order. He's not going to pre-order any more sets the entire year. And honestly, that is my advice to any store out there. I think everyone should stop pre-ordering, stop getting in this stupid mess, and wait till you get your freaking product and sell it then. It's not that hard.
Well, I mean, it's become a business model is the thing. I mean, Safari Zone's literal entire business model is built on the foundation of pre-selling and pre-ordering products. So, I mean, obviously they do it at a lot higher of a scale. So they've got certain distributors where they probably have relationships where they're guaranteed a certain amount. So they can at least, you know, with certainty sell that off. But yeah, on a much lower scale where like a handful of cases can make a huge difference for your business. Yeah, it's tough. And even then it's like still one of those things where for myself, I don't know.
Alice in Silverland actually makes a great point. Like it was the business model during dry times. You have to change your business model when things are booming.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I guarantee you that if it's going to make much more sense to do pre-orders come the next generation of base set, whatever that generation ends up being, because the program itself is probably going to have a lot more allocated base set product compared to what's currently available, because no one is going to want base set nearly as much. And so it'll be a huge opportunity to build spend that way and getting that allocated. Yeah. Am I selling Skylander cards? I don't even know what that is. And I don't know. That's something probably Alfred would know more than anything. When will Moonbryon PSA hit 10K? What's it at currently?
I know the black label's at like 13K.
What's PSA at though?
I think it's 3 now. I think I've seen a sale for 3.
Someone is at the front door.
Sorry.
Uh-oh.
I don't know what they want from me. It's just a package. What's it at for PSA right now?
3.
It's at 3. It's gonna take some time, but it's not gonna take as long as you might think.
You think it's gonna hit 10?
Do I think at some point it'll hit 10? I mean, yeah. I don't see why not. Are you kidding me? I'm not saying it's going to take a year or two, but I am saying, dude, Evolving Skies, do you think it'll be crazy to see Evolving Skies at like $3,000 a booster box in the next 5 years?
No.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, but
Team Up is that high, and the Latios isn't really more.
How much is a Latios?
About the same as the booster box in a PSA 10. So it's like, I don't know if the Moonbryon's going to be able to be 3 times over 3 times what the booster box costs.
I think it's safe to say, in my opinion, you might think this isn't safe. I think it can be $5,000 if the booster box is $3,000.
I can see that.
Yeah, I think that's where I am. $10,000. It's going to take some time. It probably will happen at some point. Probably in 10, 20 years. Can't give an exact crystal ball answer.
Yeah, who knows? It is going to be like, other than the base set Charizard, it's definitely second most iconic card, I think, at this point. In set cards, you can talk about Illustrator and like Ponchos or Mario Luigi, all that stuff. As term is like set cards, I think other than Charizard, it's got to be the most iconic set card next to that, right?
100%. It's so well known. I mean, I say Moonbreon in the shop, and most people know what that means.
Yeah.
Did you see the question? Did you see the video? A $13 tool on Amazon can find packs that have better hits than non-haul with 100%. What is this?
This is a stupid metal detector stuff I was talking about. It's all these ridiculous videos people put up, try to like do all this scam stuff. I don't know.
All right, we'll move on. Next question. What do you think of discrepancies between Crown Zenith ETB cases versus single ETB cases or single ETBs?
Are there? I don't know.
It's probably on like TCG Player, if I were to guess.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a huge discrepancy.
I mean, that's a thing, though. I mean, if you look at like booster bundles, that's a really good example of it.
Yeah. I think people just like, I mean, it's same with booster boxes. There's always a sealed case premium. It's always going to be that way, I think.
People like the
wow,
minty cases.
$1,000 for a case now. That is a discrepancy. The ETBs are only about 75. That's pretty wild. I think you should be buying ETBs then. I think you should buy the products because like there's probably going to always be a case premium, but not that high. One's going to have to catch up. So one or two things happen. The cases come down or the ETBs go up. In this market, I wouldn't count on anything coming down. I would count on things catching up. So I would say the ETBs are probably a better buy right now.
Alex, can you give some advice on how to invest in SV 9 and 10? Do we pre-order or MSRP or do we join the I'm going to wait crowd?
Should we pre-order Scarlet Violet? SV 9 and 10. Concentrate and ask again later. The 8-ball doesn't even know, guys.
Oh,
we're gonna leave that question unanswered. The 8-ball doesn't even have the answer. Sorry.
Dude. We're cooked. Last year we talked about 3 LO and 1 ES booster boxes. What is your opinion now? Oh my gosh. I totally forgot we had that conversation.
Looks like LO won pretty big, huh?
I don't know. Well, I guess in terms of like percentage gained, yeah, LO crushed. But in terms of price value, I guess I don't know.
Yeah, actually, yeah, they're about the same.
Because evolving, and they're pretty comparable at this point.
Yeah, man, they're about the same. I think LO is probably a little better though.
Yeah, I mean, I still would have. I think I'm going to say the same thing I said last time. I could be wrong, but I think it was the LO is what I'm taking because there's going to be a lot more upward volatility. So your percentage gain, even if it's not the same exact price, the percentage gain is going to be higher because with LO, you're able to move so much at such lower price. I'm going to
take evolving actually.
I mean, I will start diversifying relatively soon here into more evolving skies, but like I said before, it's for different reasons. LO is one of those sets right now where like I don't know, maybe I'm just uber bullish compared to most people, but like I could really see at this point I could see it take a run. Like especially seeing Fusion at 500, it makes me feel like we just don't really realize how high these boxes can go.
Put it this way, there's not a wrong answer. I don't think.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. Oh no, I chose evolving instead of LO. God, what a terrible.
Damn, that could have made an extra $100.
Yeah, right. God, I'm killing myself. What are your thoughts on buying ETBs now that booster boxes have taken off in Sword and Shield? Lost Origin Silver Tim is brilliant. I was paying attention to that. LO ETBs feel super undervalued compared to the boosters.
If the price per pack makes sense, then I would say go for it.
Yeah.
The thing I hate though is like people they do this in the comments all the time, and they always like say, Alex, the booster box costs this, that's this much per pack. These are only this, that's this much per pack. Guys, yes, that's a good thing to think, but they will never catch up. I want to say that one more time. They will never catch up. There's nothing wrong with the market. Booster boxes are valued differently. So just like, don't think, just because the booster boxes are $11 a pack, that means the ETB should be like $88. It's not how it works.
Yeah. Right now you're paying about $8.50 a pack for LO ETBs. And obviously you're saying to yourself, you can't compare it to the booster boxes. Yes, but it's not that far off from what loose packs are. It might make sense at that point to go the ETB route
over loose packs? Absolutely.
Yeah, if they're that close comparably, there's going to be a premium that's going to be held on those ETBs compared to the loose.
Yes, always.
All right,
just wait till Scarlet Violet, dude. Like with the ETBs having the promo cards too. I mean, that's once the booster boxes go to the moon, the ETBs are all still low, and they have the promos. That's going to be a lot different situation than what we're experiencing.
Yeah, you want to talk about something? I mean, I haven't looked in a while, but I gotta imagine where are the Evolving Skies ETBs at right now? Probably undervalued.
Probably 250, 300. I don't know.
I mean, if they're not at 3, I think they're undervalued. They're in the low 2s. I think that's a buy, dude. Call me crazy. I think that's a buy.
Do you?
$200. The booster's at like 1,1300. I mean, what's team? I mean,
the problem is loose packs are still like 20 or less, where there's only 8 packs in those.
How much are evolving packs going for?
Like $20 or less.
$20.
So it's still really overvalued compared to the packs.
Not really. I mean, you're
overvalued. What is that here? 25 a pack times 8. Dude, that's like 26, 27, 28 a pack. That's a lot. It's less than boosters, but it's a lot more than loose packs still.
Nah, I guess. I don't know. I think
they're properly valued right now. I really do.
You think so? I think they should be. I think I could easily see it go to 3. I think it should move to 3. But the only reason why I think that is because this is a little bit of a unique situation where specifically the box art designs are much more favorably collected. Like it's not just like a standard, like, yeah, this is a cool vanilla looking like ETB design. Like this has the EVs on each one and people love to collect it for that reason.
Dude, take RJ's question. He's asked it a million times.
We'll get to his question.
He just keeps reposting it.
Well, we'll get to his question. It's not going to make it any faster. Hey, the only way you get to the top of the chat is super chat, man. You can't just spam it a billion times. It's not like I missed it. Average players next. Eli, do you have hope for allocation of bundles in March? I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means? Am I dumb?
Nope. The only reprint I know of that is like coming is Surging Sparks.
Yeah, there's been some news through the grapevines of that. So I also, yeah. I mean, there's more speculative news of temporal, but at this point, here's my thing, right? I'm excited to see what's going to come because for me, especially having been in the hobby now, and more specifically the investment space of the hobby.
He might mean prismatic.
Whoa, what does that mean though?
Do you have hope for the allocation of bundles?
I don't know what that would mean though. I guess
prismatic evolutions.
Right, I get that, but we already have numbers for that. I think. Do we not? Oh. I'm pretty certain we do. I could be wrong. I don't know. I'd have to double check and see. I have no clue, to be honest. But yeah. I don't know if he's referencing reprints though. I'm excited to see what's going to happen regardless of what happens, because for me, having been in the investment space and for 5 years now, it's going to really give me a good indicator of like, all right, what can we kind of expect from Pokemon moving forward now? Because obviously we didn't get any real reprints for the holiday season to round out the year, which then of course caused an acceleration of what would usually occur during March. It instead happened in December. And so for now, waiting to see what ends up happening. And then from there, using that as another entry point in the history books to see what's going to be next. Which one is crying harder right now? The I'm going to wait gang or the CT scanning gang?
I'm going to say the CT scanning gang because... because the I'm gonna wait gang, they still kept all of their products. They just waited, and they were probably still buying Sword and Shield because they felt like that was better than Scarlet Violet. So they probably still have positions. The CT scanning gang, they sold out and left, so they are 100% crying harder.
Unless you need to put food on the table, is there any reason to sell anything in the next year?
Unless you want to, like I said, level out your positions and be like kind of more diversified, or you just want to reduce your risk, reduce your cost basis. You have other things you want to buy and you don't have capital for them. Those are some reasons. But yeah, I mean, if you don't need to and you've got income to buy what you need to and you're not in a capital constraint, probably not.
Here's my thing, and this is just speaking from my position as things continue to grow. Um, I think what I'm going to start to do is with every new set release, starting with the next generation. Um, and this is going to be for the shop as well as our own backstock. I'm just going to preemptively order 50 cases, just consistently, because at this point, like, I don't know. I don't see why not. Like, I am looking at this with a lot more of a long-term mindset where, yeah, obviously we'll have cases that are going to be sold in the shop, but like surging.
Dude, you might not be able to sell cases in the shop. You might get
Would,
to a point where you have to limit it to like 2 boxes. Like, it's so crazy.
yeah, it's hard. And the reason why I say next generation is because I think things will eventually slow down, or that's the general assumption. And so 50 cases feel sustainable, but like as my continued growth of the business occurs, it's just gonna, and as we continuously have more history under our belt, it's just gonna make me feel more and more confident on the ability to like buy these booster boxes and really just like, hey man, just sit on them. I mean, it's basically what Rudy's doing, but at a much smaller scale. That's
Right.
just the reality of it, right?
What a lot of successful shops do, honestly.
Well, a lot of the successful shops that I know of, you know what their entire business model is? It's buy a bunch of cases, sit on those cases because they only make 10 to 15% margin. Do that every single set. And then after a year or two, when the margins are now 50+%, then start to sell them, because now all of a sudden, sure, like you're still going to have the most recent available product, but you're basically always selling as your large majority share what's prevalently in shop that was 2 years older, because it's a way for you to make better margins within your control without having to like worry about what's going to happen with these new set releases. It obviously requires a bankroll to be able to do this, but this is what most of the successful shops that I've talked to are doing, because in their mind, they're like, hey, if I can buy this product, sit on it for a year or two rather than making 10%, and I can make 50%, and I just keep doing that, then it no longer becomes an issue of liquidity, because I'm just constantly liquidating older positions and making the margin that I need for my business to survive or be successful.
Yep, I get it.
Geez, you weren't kidding. He did ask that question a bajillion times.
I was trying to help.
Alt arts are on the rise again. Do you think they will continue to boom through early spring like last year, or do they rise? Or did the rise just come earlier?
Man, that's more Eli's thing. Like, I don't get as wrapped up in the seasons. Like, it definitely does prove true a lot of the time. I don't know, man. Like, for me, I think they're gonna eventually start seeing like a cooling off. Not a cooling off in terms of price drop, but a cooling off in terms of less price appreciation, more leveling off, kind of more like flat to like slower growth. Like, I don't think we're gonna see any crash on them right now, but yeah, definitely probably a leveling off of the growth.
I think that it's going to do, I mean, because here's what we saw. There tended to be a mirroring effect with the seasonality of the alt arts, and the same thing that happened with the sealed product, which was during March, February, March, April time is when you saw the biggest rise. We're obviously seeing that adjust because there hasn't been any product availability during the holiday season, where all of this is coming early. So with the alt arts rising early, sealed product rising early, whatever ends up happening, it's going to probably happen in unison. The only difference is obviously
you forgot reprints coming late.
Huh?
Reprints not coming at the end of the year, they're coming late.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, that's the thing, is reprints going to come late? The only time that literally reprints came late that were announced that were going to come was when Pokemon made the announcement on their website, and it was the first time it was posted, right? Where they said, we're aware of concerns of supply and we're going to do our best to address it. And they made that announcement on their website, and then of course, the whole printing speculation thing occurred with like them buying out the printing, whatever. Anyway, that was 2021 when we got an insane dump. Not to say that's what's going to happen. Obviously, it's playing out the same way, but I also want to mention the scarcity of what product was at that time lasted several months. It wasn't one of these things where, all right, we're sold out at distro. Now the product's going to come. It took still several months after that before we did get the product. I mean, we had battle styles and chilling. And by chilling, we were sold out of everything completely. So it's something where you had chilling all the way until evolving, which was about a 3-month stint before more product finally started to come onto the market. So as much as I hate to say it, yes, I do think reprints are going to come at some point. And yes, it does feel like what happened with 2021 might end up repeating itself. But if it truly does, you could still see this being a supply issue for at least another 2 to 3 months. Like there's still so much potential for us just seeing the prices of things continue to climb. Who knows? I could be wrong and prices could correct as a new reprint happens sooner than later, but don't just immediately assume that as the product dries out, that means that we just are going to get like a reprint within the next week.
Also, don't hear the word reprint and freak out every time. Like maybe have a little patience and see what that actually entails. Is it a massive reprint? Is it even a booster box reprint? How much is everyone's, supposed to get? Like just things getting reprinted doesn't mean prices are going to crash.
That's true.
Think about this, guys. What do you think is going to happen if Surging Sparks gets reprinted and every store across the nation gets like 2 cases? Do you think they're going to dump them at $150? No, man. They're going to freaking sell at market. Maybe there's some price competition. People trying to get the free tendies like goes down to like low 200s. Maybe it breaks 2, but that's like the reality of reprints. They're not all the same. They're not created equal. And if there's not enough to go around, prices aren't going to correct that much.
Yeah. And if it does correct, it's always the same way. It's usually a race to the bottom, and whatever that bottom is, it usually gets eaten up really quick because the buying volume is so high. Like what we saw with Evolving. Like Evolving went from 200 down to 120, and it lasted maybe a week. And then before
I was going to say, you had about a couple weeks to a month to really make a play on it.
Yeah, it was so fast. It was like you had about a week to get it at 120, and then it rebounded within the following week to 150. And then within about a month, it hit back at 200 again. So you had some time to get it at a discount. We don't know how deep surging is going to go, but let's say hypothetically speaking, because surging at like 250 at this point, right? Let's say that surging does get down to 150 because it is the same size reprint as Evolving. It's going to be a week. It's going to last that long. And then before you know it, it'll be back at 200 in 2 weeks. And then it'll be back at 250 in a month. If we're saying it plays out the same way, obviously. So, but I don't have a crystal ball. I can't say how deep it's going to go, but if it were to play out the same way, it's not going to be long lasting. At what point does buying new sets at the 161 MSRP make sense? If they're selling it at stores for 130, 150, what would you consider?
I don't know what I consider about that, but Eli may not have a crystal ball, but I have a magic 8-ball.
Oh my gosh. I should get a crystal ball, bro. I should.
You'll be sitting there with the crystal ball. I'll be shaking the 8-ball. We'll have all the answers. People will come to us for all of the answers to life.
Oh, that'd be so funny.
The only time it makes sense is if you're someone like me and needs packs for rip and chips and they're not cheaper, or you are a business and need product for your shop, or you just, believe in like the current market state. You think it's going to run up and you're going to make a short-term play on it. But I honestly, here's my best guess. If you were to buy every single set this year at MSRP, I think there's a good chance that most of them you'll find cheaper in the future. I think there will come a time when things slow down, especially in the next, 12 to 24 months, where we will get reprints. We will have slowdowns in the market, and you'll be able to find most of them for, in that 130, maybe 120 to 150 range. And so unless you have a real reason to, if your only reason is to sit on them long term, maybe you get some if you want that first print case, or just wait.
I mean, here's how I'm looking at this is I think that I think things will slow down by the next generation, because that's kind of what we saw with Scarlet and Violet. Like Sword and Shield was insane, and then things slowed down at Scarlet and Violet, and they picked back up again. It'll probably slow down by then. But as far as like buying an MSRP, the one thing I will say, and this is kind of an interesting perspective, there's a lot of people that are having their pre-orders canceled because of everything going on with prices continuing to rise with Prismatic. Gloria Team Rocket, I wouldn't be surprised if you started to see people go buy it at MSRP because they're like, hey, I have a lot less likely of a chance that the Pokemon company is going to cancel my pre-orders than a game shop that's like, oh, it's at $200 a box. I don't know. Just an interesting thought, because that's where a lot of people's heads are now at this point. Is it's not even like, what's the price point worth picking up? It's now, am I afraid that some shop is going to all of a sudden cancel my pre-order on me?
Well, then here's another scary thing. Never mind.
Oh God, I want to hear it now.
Well, I was gonna say ETB's MSRP is 50 divided by 9 packs. That's $5.55 a pack, but that would still be $200. So yeah, I was gonna say the scary part is if the booster box sell at MSRP, does everyone start running and buying out the ETBs at MSRP?
Yeah, right. Seriously, it's possible. I mean, the PC ETBs, bro. Are you looking right now at the price of the PC ETB for? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's actually a guy in our Discord group who has pre-orders. And so he's selling them for people. So everyone's like sending him they're going to have to like ship it for him, but he's like listing all of theirs for them because he has pre-order eligibility on TCG players. So everyone's like rushing to sell them at these prices.
I know. I was only able to get 2 units because it just like, that's all I was able to get. And I'm like, dude, should I sell them? Like, should I just sell them? I swear.
I'm selling mine. I'm keeping 1.
Yeah. I only have 2. I mean, you probably have more than me. I don't know if you were able to get more in time.
I got like 100. No.
Yeah, right.
Dude, nobody has many of these. No one. It's not like 151 or Surging Sparks. Like, I don't know anybody that really got a ton.
Well, I know someone that has like 20 of them because basically they were,
wow.
they got up at like, well, they're East Coast. They got up at like 6 or 7, which is like 9 o'clock my time, and it dropped at like 4 a.m. Right. So
that's a lot. That's one of the most I've heard.
They basically woke up 2 hours after the notification was dropped, and first thing just went and started buying it. And by the time I woke up, which was at 9:30, which was shortly after, that was about noon his time. So he had a 6-hour head start is when it was a 2-hour limit or a 2-unit limit. So yeah, it's crazy. Oh my gosh, dude. Stop.
By the way, it's like, I don't know. To me, it's like the stupidest thing in the world. PC ETBs.
I mean, you know me, if you look at my early content, I was always a big believer on them, but I didn't.
I believe in them. I just think it's stupid. It's a freaking stamped card and 2 extra packs. It's the dumbest thing in the world, but people love it.
Prismatic at $90 pre-order right now. Sell the house and dog to buy in.
Where?
Yeah, where?
I will sell the house and buy it.
Yeah, right. Seriously.
I don't see that price anywhere. Contrast, leave in the chat right now and looking. Where is that a thing?
If demand remains this high in printing, stays at the same level, do you think we'll see a mass exit from the hobby, or do you think the hype would gradually die down when it does?
Mass exit because it stays high?
I think
you're not going to see a mass exit until people start losing money.
I think that's what he's saying. Is if demand remains this high and printing stays at the same level, do you think we'll see a max exit from the hobby because people are upset due to the fact that things are unaffordable?
No. Like I said, I don't think that's going to, I think people are going to leave when they start losing money. When the demand falls and the reprints come and people actually lose money for the first time ever in Pokemon. You guys, you have to remember, a lot of people right now just got in the last year or so. They've never experienced losing money in this hobby yet. So I think it's going to be until then before we see a mass exit.
Yeah, and when that mass exit comes, it'll happen, and then there'll be a mass reentry.
People. I mean,
it's just a market.
It's healthy. People need to lose. Like, you can't just all infinitely win. Like, you need to lose to really like kind of build that. I don't even know what it's called, but like be able to last long term in markets, because this is not normal.
I'm in a situation where I need to sell. What do I keep between LOST or Shrouded Kingdra Greninja boxes? Stupid car. Alex.
Gel, I mean, I can't tell if it's. I hate online because you can't tell if they're sarcastic or if it's real or not. If this is real, man, and like you're like investing in Pokemon while you need like real life things, my advice would be stop investing in Pokemon. Get your everything in your life square, and then come back when you have disposable income again. That's my best advice.
To answer that question, though, in order, I'm selling first Kingdra, then ST, then LO. I am not selling
LO last, baby.
Yeah, LO last for sure.
I agree. I'm with that.
Question. I have a really good relationship with my LGS. Are there any favors or advantages I can ask one of them when it comes to deals, etc.?
Not now. Jay, like if things slow down, you could definitely do that because I know card shops, at least around me, they're willing to work with you based on your spend. If you could guarantee them a certain amount of orders every single set, I definitely have had that. But now in this market, no, I stopped even asking. It's not, no one's going to give deals. I talk about it in the video, like, you know, people will reach out like, Alex, if I buy like, you know, 50 cases from you, can you work me like a bulk deal? Like, dude, no one in the right mind is working a deal right now. People are throwing money at you to buy this product. No one's discounting it. There's no deals. There's no coupons. There's no bulk discounts. There's no, I got cash. It doesn't matter right now.
Dude, this is going to sound so like, hopefully this doesn't come off the wrong way, but dude, it grinds my gears when I'm in the shop and I hear someone that's like trying to barter with me over a $20 item. And they're like, yo, what kind of discount can you give me on this? I'm like, bro, you're spending $20. Like, what do you mean? They're like, yo, so like I'm buying 3 packs. If I buy a 4th, can I get a 5th one for free? And I'm like, dude, you've spent a total of $16. What makes you think I'm going to give you dude, $20? Put it over the edge. Like, what? I don't know. It just made me think about that. As a store owner, I mean, here's the thing. Maybe I'm not the same as other store owners, I'm going to assume. I am never really that aggressive when it comes to selling things off. I am much more inclined to do bundles and give like a 10% discount on like the high demand stuff. Cause I swear to you, man, the amount of people that come in that are like, yo, I've got like 20 grand to spend. And I'm like, okay, cool. What do you want? And they're like, I want 151, Crown Zenith, Evolving. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to give you a discount on my most liquid stuff. If you want to have a conversation, I want you picking up Shrouded Fable product. I want you picking up like literally stuff that's not moving. And
so like Eli's saying, that's the correct way to do it. Like, that's what I do when I go to my card shop is I'll go in and I don't do this anymore because the market's crazy. But before this, I would go in and talk to the manager and be like, hey, what do you guys got that you're trying to move? Like, what do you got? What are you sitting on a bunch of? And I'm like, okay, well, what kind of deal can you take if I take a bunch of it? Like, that's what you do is you're helping them out. And by helping them, you try to get a little better price on it. You don't go in the height of the market looking for freaking deals and then also looking for deals on the top selling stuff. They're not going to do it.
I mean, Alex, weren't you the one that was telling me that, you know, you did a big trade where you sent them off some feet picks in exchange for a deep discount on 151?
I still do that. Those are still active. I do those all the time.
Dude, I'm telling you, I need to get on that train, man. You've really been opening my eyes up lately to how much money you can make off that. It's insane.
Dude, once those socks come off.
Oh God, the premium. Would you see that there's a foot premium when it comes to socks on versus socks off in the same way?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it depends how skimpy the sock is.
Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting question. What if you're wearing sandals? Is that more of like a loose pack?
Stupid.
Is this like a loose pack? Like, you know, there's not that deep of a premium.
I can't even keep up with their ridiculousness.
Oh my gosh, dude, RJ, please don't.
I told you he was asking it, bro.
I will. Do not spam in the chat, or I don't want to have to ban you, but we've had to do it in the past. We've had to ban people for spamming. Oh, dude, I've seen he's already down like 25 times he's messaged it. It's actually insane. Do you think SV1 through 3 will remain stagnant after sets like Prismatic, Journey Together, and Team Rocket are released, or do you see price rises until the end of the year?
Price rises. Honestly,
really?
I think when rounds of reprints come, and these sets continue to age 2+ years old and they don't see reprints, I think people are going to FOMO more. And the I'm going to wait crowd is really going to lose their minds and start buying.
Oh man, that is a hard one. Here, oof. Well, I guess to be fair, in his assumption, he's basically saying it isn't under the assumption that it is or isn't going to get reprinted. Man, that's tough. That is tough. Well, because if you look at what happened with Rebel Clash and like base set for Sword and Shield, prices did continue to go up because there was no print, right? But if you look at like what happened with Fusion, Battle Styles, and Chilling, those prices only went up during like the holiday times. So I guess it really depends. If hypothetically speaking, let's say that there's a mass reprint that happens, right? Then I would generally say that if those items are untouched, you could easily see those continue to climb because of what Alex just said. But if hypothetically speaking, they do get reprinted, then it will be just basically a rise every single holiday season indefinitely, unless more product comes from that. And then if more product does come, then it will probably follow a continued rise after a aggressive recovery, because the general assumption will be it's now or never. Kind of like when we were talking about LO and Brilliant had like a very tiny reprint like 6 months ago. I remember I talked to Alex about it. LO was at 200, box dropped down to like 170, 180. And I was like, dude, this is going to last like a week or two. Like, this is such a small supply and people are going to look at this as a huge opportunity to get in before it just continues to climb. And then since then, LO has done nothing but climb month over month.
It's pretty funny. So I was on a live stream with, if you get anyone knows Retrospecs, it was his channel, but it was me, Pokey and Catch 'em All Collectibles on Sunday night. And, you know, after the stream, we were all sitting around BSing, you know, talking with each other. And we were just talking about like different plays you can make in the hobby right now and stuff. And I'm just like, okay, let's say I want to make this play and I want to go free up $50,000 of liquid cash to go do it. I asked all three of them, I go, so what would you guys sell? I go, I own everything from Battle Styles forward. What do I sell? And everyone's sitting there like no one wanted to sell anything. And I'm just like, that's the problem. I go, that's the problem right there, is no one wants to let go of any set right now.
Yeah.
That's why it's going to keep going to the moon.
It's kind of what you're seeing in the housing market.
Yeah. Nobody wants to sell anything, dude. Cause everyone knows they're sitting on gold.
The only time this could ever, I mean, this sounds, it's unlikely, crossing fingers. The only time that will ever happen is if for some reason price is corrected. And more than likely, if that were to happen, it would have to be because either for some reason there's a mass exodus in the hobby and or an economic crisis occurred. Because realistically speaking, like, when you're in a situation like this, you obviously have a lot of people that are now looking at the price of evolving and their entry point is $1,000, $1,200. Cause they're like, well, yeah, I didn't buy it at like 400, 500, but let me buy now. And so you have a lot of people that are probably buying the tops on a consistent basis. All it takes is for one massive correction. And all of a sudden people that were over leveraged because it's never going to go down happens, then it's going to destroy the market. So if an economic crisis happens, Pokemon is probably going to get hit so hard because of that. Because you're going to have so many people just sitting on product, over leveraging themselves, assuming it's never going to go down. And then the minute it goes down and they're just massively just, you know, in water, they're going to start flash selling product.
Hey, I got to give a shout out to Luke in the chat. He said, y'all talking about making big money with Pokemon. This ship has sailed. Luke, there were many like you in 2021, man. And you don't want to know what happened to all their opinions.
Went down the drain. All right, ready. A last question, then I got to get out of here. So we were able to go a little bit over, thankfully. Question: at what point do you think you should start to diversify within the hobby? How many zeros?
I don't think it matters on the zeros. I just think it matters like your risk tolerance, right? Like, if you own 10 stocks in your portfolio, right, and one stock was 80% of your portfolio, Are you comfortable with that? And it's the same thing you ask yourself in Pokemon. There's no right answer. There's only a right answer for you. For me, I'm not when you're younger, you kind of almost want portfolios like that. Like, oh man, I really believe in Tesla. I'm all about Elon, or I'm really about, XRP. I think it's the future. Like, that's fine. Like, take risk when you're younger. But like, as you start to get older, I'm not saying I'm old, but like, you start to think about like, keeping your wealth and make sure like it continues to grow, but you're not like taking massive risks. I like to make sure I'm more diversified across everything, so that way I'm not like, all my eggs aren't in like one or two baskets. So it's all about your risk tolerance. If you start feeling like you're way, too heavy in one position, sell out and split it up into multiple. That's my opinion on it.
Risk tolerance, yes. And then also as well, I think your situational position on just how much available space you have, right? Because ultimately it's like, if you're someone that just doesn't have a ton of space, then it might make sense for you to consider how much you value the square foot that you're storing. And of course, as well, looking into a storage unit and the price that it's going to cost for you to have one of those. Because that's what I'm literally looking at right now. And I'm saying to myself, man, is it going to make sense at some point for me to start liquidating certain positions?
No, it makes sense at your level, because if a storage unit's like $2,000 a month and you have like $200,000, it's 1% a year to store it there.
Yeah. You just have to make sure you can outpace that.
If you're a storage unit when you have like 10 grand, that's
you mean 2,000 a month to store the whole thing?
Oh, 2,000 a month?
That's what I thought I heard you just say.
No, I mean, I think a storage unit
should be more
than
2,000
like
a year.
Right? Yeah. What does it cost there for a storage unit?
If you're holding 200 grand worth of product, probably around $150 a month.
Yeah, so about $2,000 a year.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. 1% a year sounds about right, which you can easily outpace that. That's
right.
Nothing. So, but all right. We'll end it there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. We greatly appreciate it. Make sure you leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. Alex is obviously going to be doing a break later. Make sure to check him out. Link is down in the description below for that. And lastly, if we ever have any more spots open up, link down in the description below is where you can check out, or ping me if you got any questions on how to kind of hear first about that when, spots open up about once a month. So you can usually sneak one in. But anyway, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday. Peace.
Peace.